him bringing those things, hiding in the car, directing you. He had it thought out.
Obviously.
Okay, and I know I keep telling you about it, but I'm telling you, he killed Mike. And he did it for you because he wanted you. And I know that's hard, and I know it hurts, but by God, I'm telling you that's what happened.
On December 16th, 2000, Jerry Michael Williams woke up at 4:30 a.m. to go duck hunting at Lake Seminole. Later that day, he had an anniversary planned with his wife, Denise. What seemed to be a perfect day for a successful real estate agent turned out to be a day of horror for the Williams family. By noon, Mike was not answering his phone from Denise, so she called her father to tell him about Mike's odd behavior. Mike's close friend, Brian Winchester, and his father later drove to the areas of the lake where they knew Mike usually goes duck hunting, but he was nowhere to be found. They called the police, and the search for Mike began. They found his 1994 Ford Bronco near the boat launch. They located Mike's boat and found his shotgun inside, but he was nowhere near. In June of 2001, an angler in the Stump Field area discovered a pair of waders floating in the lake, which are basically waterproof boots worn by fishermen. Divers were called to search the area, and then recovered from the lake bottom a lightweight hunting jacket and a flashlight. A hunting license with Williams' name and signature was in one of the jacket pockets. A week later, a Leon County judge granted Denise Williams' petition to have Mike declared legally dead based on those recovered items and an assumption that alligators and other water life had consumed the body in its entirety. Now, before we jump into the future of Denise as a grieving widow with a daughter to raise, we have to take you back just enough to understand Mike's disappearance from a wider perspective. So for that, let's rewind to 1994, the year Mike and Denise got married. They knew each other from their school years at North Florida Christian School and both attended Florida State University. But among them were two friends who had a similar story. Those two were Brian Winchester and Kathy Thomas. After their marriages in 1994, the two couples have gone on double dates, had kids, and even their family members got closer. For Michael, life was smooth sailing as he was close to making $200,000 annually at the time. He had bought a home on the east side of the city, and his co-workers claimed he was as devoted to raising his daughter as he was to his work. After Mike's disappearance, you'd think Denise would mourn and take time, but her actions from that point on compelled a lot to wonder whether she had something to do with Mike's disappearance or not. As soon as the judge granted her appeal to declare Mike legally dead, she immediately proceeded with claims on her husband's life insurance policies, from which she received $1.5 million. This life insurance policy was signed just a few months before his death, after Mike was persuaded by his wife and his childhood pal, Brian Winchester. 5 years later, she married Brian, and the couple went on to live in the same house where Denise and Mike lived. As the two new lovebirds progressed on with their life, a few members of the family were questioning Mike's whereabouts.
The initial theory was that he was missing and possibly eaten by alligators.
Right.
You never believed that, did you?
No, sir.
Cheryl Williams was still not convinced by the alligator theory, so she embarked on her own personal efforts to uncover the truth.
And in fact, you took lots of steps to initiate an investigation, did you not?
Yes.
Put up posters?
Yes.
Wrote the governor?
Yes.
Put up billboards?
Yes.
And in fact, you were able to get an investigation launched, were you not?
Yes.
Did you have a confrontation with Denise about your beliefs that Mike being still alive?
Yes.
How many times?
Twice.
When was the first time?
It was August of 2001.
So 9 months after Mike went missing.
Yes.
Where was this?
It was in her front yard.
What happened?
I had been trying to get publicity for Mike's disappearance. I had written the letters to the editor at the Tallahassee Democrat, begging them to do a story about Mike's disappearance. Finally, a reporter, Tony Bridges from the Tallahassee Democrat, read my letters to the editor, and he was doing a story about people who were missing locally in Tallahassee area. He called me to ask me if he could include Mike in those people? And I told him yes. Nick took a picture to the Tallahassee Democrat, and he did a story. When the article came out in the newspaper, Denise called me on the phone. She was livid. She said, "You and Nick need to come over here right now." We went to her house. In the front yard, we weren't even invited inside. She was screaming at me. She was mad about the article. And she said, screaming at me, "I don't ever want to hear Mike's name again. I don't ever want to see Mike's picture in the paper again. I don't ever want to know anything you're doing about Mike again. I have to get on with my life."
The truth is, Denise was not some grieving widow who found love and peace in the arms of her husband's best friend. She had some ulterior motive or link to Mike's disappearance. She wanted to bury the truth and move on. But she didn't realize then that the truth would surface only after she started hitting rock bottom. By 2012, Denise was fed up with Brian's sex addiction, due to which the two separated. She later filed for divorce in 2015, but Brian did not like that at all. He opposed the decision, but was ordered by the court to comply, and was asked to provide an appraisal of the couple's house, due early in August of 2016. On August 5th, 2016, Denise left her home to drive to her job at Florida State University. And while she was talking on her phone with her sister, she saw someone climb over the back seat of her car. That man was her soon-to-be ex-husband, Brian. He snatched her phone away and began yelling directions at her. Initially, she didn't comply, but that changed as soon as he pulled out a gun. He claimed that the gun was necessary since she wasn't taking his calls and blocking his text messages. Instead of going where he wanted her, she pulled into the parking lot of a drugstore to talk. Brian pleaded with her not to get divorced and that he was planning to kill himself if she went through with it. He also assured her that he wouldn't kill her. But after a while, she was able to calm him down and took him back to where he parked his truck. Brian apologized and also made her promise not to tell the police about the incident. Still, seeing as how faithful she was to her first husband, she broke that promise almost immediately.
And he pulled out a gun, like a gun, not a hunting gun, but like a gun he would kill someone with. And he put it right here in my ribs. He put it right here, and he goes, "With this," and he pressed it in there. "You will turn." Well, I kept, in my head, I was like, I'm making it to CVS because that's our CVS. And I was just like, I'm making it to CVS. So he put it right there. He was screaming. And so I didn't know if I should go in the ditch. Like, I didn't know what to do. And, but I kept driving. So anyway.
Where was he when this happened?
Where was he?
Did he
Yeah, he was over. Yeah, he climbed out from the back. It's two, and then a back, and then the seat, and then a back. So he was in the back, I guess, hiding. And then when he came out, he came up to right behind me. So like I'm driving, and he's right here, and then the gun's right here. So he's right here.
Did you see what the gun looked like? Like what color it was, or?
I mean, it was dark.
We're not going into too much detail about this encounter because we're still focused on Mike. So let's speed this up a bit and get to the good parts.
But I ended up, of course, at the beginning, especially, he was crazed. And then as we were talking, I was just kind of agreeing with whatever he was saying. And I was like, I know that you love me. And he's recently lost his son. His son has decided to move in with, he had joint custody and now he doesn't. And so he said, "I've lost my son, I've lost you, I have nothing to live for." And I was like, "Well, Brian, you're the only one who can change." This is a side note, but his son left him because the son is 17 now, went through his phone, Brian's phone, and found out that he's been seeing prostitutes. They found the website, they know the girls have been in the house where my stepson was living. And that they've been doing drugs because there's a text about drugs back and forth. And Stafford, my stepson, took pictures of all the texts from Brian's phone. He took pictures of everything he found in the house. So that's all, we have proof of all that. And so I just kept saying, you've got to stop living that way. You could get us all back if you'll just turn your life around, because he was a Christian at one point. And I was like, if you'll just turn back to the Lord. So the whole time I'm turned this way, I'm buckled in, but he's calm, he's calming down.
You can tell from these brief glimpses that she's portraying herself as some saint who's trying to get Brian off of his path and onto the Lord's. But her sins are no different.
And so the gun's still right there, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And he's like, what am I doing? I could tell he was, and I was like, I don't know. I know you want to talk to me, but this is not the way to do it. I know. What have I done? It's like he kind of woke up, like, what have I done? What have I done? And I was like, listen, let me take you. Let's go to your dad's office. The dad owns the business. I said, let's go to your dad's office and talk to him. I said, I don't want you arrested. I just want to get past this. This can be your rock bottom. Do you think this is your rock bottom? What do you think? So, I could tell. So he was, but it was, the gun was started there. And so I ended up convincing him, we're gonna talk to your dad. We're gonna get through this. And I kept saying we. And so then he called his dad on from his cell phone. Oh, by the way, the whole time he kept going through my phone because he had it, trying to see if I had a boyfriend, which, I don't. He was going through my phone the whole time. But anyway, he called his dad, put his dad on speaker, and I didn't yell out because the gun was right there. But he said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm going to a meeting at 11. And Brian said, well, call me when you get out. I need to talk to you. And he said, okay. So I didn't yell out. I didn't say anything. And he hung up. And I said, Brian, let me go to work. Let me go to work, show my face. People are going to wonder where I'm at. You call me at work, and then I'll come out and meet with you and your dad. I will not call the police. I promise. I promised a million times that I wouldn't call the police. And I said, and I'll meet you out there, and we'll talk about this. This can be, I didn't say a new beginning, but I said, this can be the end of all this, blah. Okay. And then I was like, Brian, I've got to go. So then he went from the seat to the back row and put his knees there and started pulling stuff out of the back and shoving it into a backpack. And I saw sheets, I want to say plastic. Maybe it was plastic. I don't know, but it was maybe a sheet and a plastic something. I don't know, but it was fabric looking. And he shoved all that in the backpack. Then he had a bottle, which it was like, those old timey bleach bottles that are like white with the sprayer thing. A huge one.
It was like a spray thing?
Yeah. He had that, put that in the backpack, and then something else. And when I saw the bleach, I was like, oh my God, I just kind of lost, in my head, I kind of lost it. And so it was something else, like a tool or something, not a hammer, but something like that. I don't know. And then he shoved that in the backpack, and then I said, Brian, where's the gun? I don't want the gun anywhere near me. Where's the gun? It's right here. It was on the floor at that point, I guess because he knocked it or something, I don't know. But he picked it up, and he put it in the backpack, and he zipped the backpack up, and then he opened up a little zipper of the front backpack, took his keys out.
Even though he claimed he wasn't going to kill her, it doesn't explain why he was packing this much stuff. It's possible Denise negotiated her way out of a possible death situation. Interestingly, since Mike's disappearance, Denise had always declined to speak to the police, and the very few times that she did, she had a lawyer present. Now that she realized that she was facing a near-death situation, she had no choice but to turn to law enforcement.
But all he wanted was to talk to me, for me to call the divorce off. And intermittently he would say he was going to kill himself. A lot he said that. Because I was like, are you planning on ending both of our lives? Like as he got calmer at CBS, I said, are you planning on, ending both of our lives today? Well, mine. I'm planning on mine. But I've already told you everything, but I still don't know if it's the right thing to do because it's going to make him so mad. And then you guys, I can't have a 24-hour policeman with me, and he's going to, if he gets arrested, if he doesn't, he's going to be free at some point. I have a daughter. It's not his daughter, but I don't know.
We can try and get him some help.
That's exactly what happened. That was the only time he showed up at work unannounced.
Okay. Alright, give me 1 second to step out and see if I need anything else. Do you need anything right now? Or?
No, I'm thinking no, there's anything else. He was very, very suicidal, but towards the end, he was calm.
Okay.
Calmer.
Alright, well, give me just 1 minute, I'll be right back.
Denise just had a near-death experience, so it's understandable for her to be this jumpy and scared. So far, the detectives she has interacted with have calmed her and been cooperative to her needs. They also promise her to process that request immediately and charge Brian on the grounds of kidnapping. She does this casually, not realizing that Brian holds the truth inside him, and if she takes him down, he'll take her down with him. Interestingly, as Denise was sitting in this interrogation room revealing the story, Brian was out having lunch with a friend named Dr. Nukin, who was part of his Sex Addicts Anonymous group. The details of their conversations uncover the real reason Brian attempted to kidnap Denise, and why Denise would be walking into a trap soon by the police.
Did he indicate to you at lunch what was the catalyst for him performing that criminal act, that kidnapping?
He said that on the night, on Thursday night, the night before, the police came to his house and said that they've been talking to Denise, and once Denise gets, she is going to talk to the police about what really happened to Mike Williams.
And what did that mean to Brian Winchester? What did he...
Well, it made him very nervous, and he really wanted to talk to her about it, and he kept calling her, but she wouldn't answer, so he decided that the best way to talk to her would be to kidnap her.
So as they were processing Denise's request to charge her ex-husband, they were getting ready to talk to her as the opportunity presented itself to them.
With his dad calling you, saying that's odd, would you be willing to do a control call to his dad to see if his dad says anything? Or to Brian himself?
Oh my gosh. Brian's going to ask me immediately, where are you? Why are you not at work? So, and then his dad, I don't know. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to say I'm at the sheriff's department.
All right. Well, as far as anybody asking where you're at, all you gotta do is tell them you had to go somewhere by yourself and think.
Yeah. I really don't want to make contact with him. I mean, unless y'all think that it's necessary.
Well, it's your option. If he told his dad what took place, and his dad was checking on you and expresses he explained it to him or whatever, then we've got that information that he's told somebody else. If he winds up sitting here having a conversation with you about it, that's just more evidence per se that corroborating your story about.
Normally, with the father's conversation, she can be at ease that there's more evidence. But the reason that she doesn't want her father to know is because Brian's father was very close with Mike. He might slip in a fact that can incriminate her. He doesn't want to alert Brian also, otherwise he'll start preparing everything against her. After the detectives get resistance from her, they leave. Interestingly, Denise's brother-in-law is a detective too, and he comes into the interrogation room after hearing the entire story. He has his suspicions about Brian's involvement in Mike's disappearance, and will appear as the good cop to get her to unveil what Brian did 16 years ago.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I've told this story a million times.
All right, about a few more times.
Are they going through my car now? They were supposed to.
Deanna went to get the keys from Ansley. Ansley is at Justin's house. So, but Brian would never know what that is, right?
No. I'm assuming Brian's at work. He's called me. His dad has called me.
Did you answer the phone or text him?
No.
Did he say where to call? What did he say? What did Brian say?
He has to use apps, text apps on his phone because I blocked so many numbers from him. So must be another text app number, and he sent this, and that's his cell. And that was around 1.
You think that's him?
That is him because he's telling me it's him. And so I wouldn't recognize his number. But I think you'll find his truck at work.
I don't know. He's probably.
But Marcus said please call me at 1:30, but I don't want to call him. I don't know why he's calling me. I don't know if,
Marcus, you think he talked to Marcus?
well, Brian said I convinced him like that someone had to know what he had done and for us to tell Marcus because he wouldn't turn it in, but at least someone else would know. And but he said I don't want to tell him about the gun. I don't want to tell. I'll just tell him that I hit rock bottom. Like he didn't want to tell him the details that I wanted him to tell him. So the fact that he's calling me, Brian might have said something, but I know he didn't tell him the details. He wouldn't unless I was there and I made him. But Kathy mentioned, should I tell Marcus? Let me ask Kathy real quick.
Don't
Don't
ask.
ask.
Don't find
Okay.
that. We don't. They have not found Brian yet.
Oh, they haven't?
Um,
What time is it?
I sent John Barron's over to your mom's. I think they told Johnny just a little bit. Well,
I know.
if you didn't show up at work like you're supposed to, and he knows you're not there,
Right.
where's he gonna
Yeah,
go?
yeah.
The only place I knew that he knows in common would be Johnny's. So John Barron's is there, so no one can get to Johnny. We try to get her to leave and go over to your grandparents, stay there, but she won't leave the house.
I think he's probably driving around looking for me because he thinks I'm supposed to be at work. Because I told him I was going straight to work. He could call me on the work phone to confirm it, and then I would meet him and Marcus later today at his office. That's how we left it.
The Carrie Forest office. Now Marcus isn't working anymore, does he?
Mm-hmm. He does. And he said that we would talk to his dad together. That's how we left it.
What did he pull out back in the car this morning? I know you told them, but then you told me a little bit.
When he was leaving, yeah, I didn't know anything was back there, and he got his knees into that seat and started pulling stuff out, and
In the very back?
that's where he was hiding. And so he pulled the backpack. It was loose stuff. Like he pulled it. You know what? He might have slept there last night, and that's why she was there. I don't know how long he had been there. But he pulled out a sheet that was like this color, and then he pulled out something else because it took him. It was heavy. It's like that's why I think it was some type of plastic. I'm pretty sure it was. Pulled all that out, shoved all that in this backpack, and then pulled something else out. And again, I don't know what it was. It was bigger than a hammer, wider than a hammer, but I don't know what it was. Put that in there, and then there was this bottle, like this big of like industrial bleach, like a bottle, and he pulled that out and put that in there, and then when he turned around and sat down, I said, where's the gun? Because he was about to get out, and he goes, right here, and it was on the floor, and he picked it up, put that on top, and then zipped it up, and then unzipped a little tiny pocket that I could see that was right here, and got his keys out.
He told you he was there to kill himself this morning.
He told me that he had nothing else to live for, and that he wanted to kill himself. He told me that many times. He told me he bought the gun to kill himself because I said, where did you get this gun? Because I've never seen a gun that you would kill people with. You know, he's just got the hunting guns. And he said, I bought it to kill myself.
What do you think he brought all the other stuff for?
I have no idea. Because at one point I asked him, I said, did you really plan on today being the day that we would both die? And he said, well, me. But then when I saw that other stuff, that doesn't make sense. So I don't know. That's what he said.
Denise, he was going to kill you, and for whatever reason, he didn't go through with it. He brought that stuff because he could cover his tracks. And I'm sorry, you know that I love you, and I would never let anything happen to you. But I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat stuff. You did the right thing by calling me, but Denise, he was going to kill you.
Well, then when he finds out after 4 o'clock that there's a restraining order, he's going to know that I told, and he's going to come for me.
Well, hopefully he'll kill himself and won't have to worry about it, okay? He's had control over you for years and years and years. He has ruined your life. You and Deborah are the same age, but y'all sure don't look it. It has eaten at you and eaten at you. And I couldn't say anything. I talked to Warren one time and said, we need to talk to Denise, and he wouldn't do it. He said, I'm just glad she didn't go crazy. Okay, but you've been living in a crazy life forever. And you finally had enough to get out. I know, Denise, he did it. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't think you had anything ever whatsoever to do. He held that over your head forever. And he was going to do it again. He wasn't going to kill himself, Denise. He was going to kill you so that you couldn't talk about him later. That is the truth. I've been doing this too long. I've talked to everybody I know over the years for 15 years about how and what we could do. 15 years ago, he walked in and told you he'd done something. Didn't he?
No.
Denise,
No.
you have got, this is not going away. okay, he's going to kill you. He's either going to kill himself because he's got no other avenue, but he's going to try and control you. He's going to try to stop people from talking about what he did. You say no. Would he go get Ansley and hold Ansley and call you and say, do what I say? Would he kill Ansley?
Would he? I don't think he would
Yes, he
kill
would.
me.
The only person that's important to him is him. He didn't bring that crap to kill himself and bury himself. He brought it to kill you and bury you and get rid of the problem because he knows he's got a problem.
He didn't say any of that.
This is not how divorces go. What did he ever say to you back then?
Back then about Mike?
About Mike?
Just as a reminder, she named Mike, not the detective. All the secrecy about it has now broken, and she has to tell him what happened.
I never had any reason to believe that he would do that. I never would have believed.
Knowing what do you remember the time you went to Atlanta when you had a boyfriend up there and he showed up with a gun?
Yeah.
What makes you think he wouldn't do something like that?
I guess because, not now, but and obviously he loves the Lord. He was a Christian. That's why I married him. He was doing prison ministry. I was doing prison ministry. I had no reason, and I've never seen him like this.
You saw him this way 14 years ago in Atlanta.
Not like this. This
I
was
understand.
different. This was very different.
All right.
This took it to
No.
a whole nother.
Knowing what you know over 15 years, do you think he would do something like that? Knowing what you know now. Because it took me a long time to wrap my eyes. I said, no. Knowing what you know now.
Even after today, even after everything that he said to me today, I do not believe, no, I don't. And I don't believe he was there to hurt me. He said over and over, I want to kill myself. I don't want to leave. I'm so
he
miserable.
brought
I have nothing to
plastic.
live for.
He brought plastic, an implement to bury you, and you think he would hurt you?
I guess I can't believe it.
That was
And he
hard.
didn't say, he had the gun on me, but he didn't say, well, he said he was going to hurt me.
Right.
He did say that. He screamed that. Yeah.
So we can't put it back in the bottle.
No.
Okay, and there's no amount of counseling that's going to help him. He was never normal. He's never going to return to whatever he was. The only thing that's going to work now is you testify, and he goes to prison, and he goes to prison for a lengthy period of time, and maybe it's 5, 10, 15 years, but at some point, he may get back out. Okay, if he kills himself, well, problem solved. But you can't, I believe he had something to do with Mike. I absolutely believe it.
I do not, but this, what you're talking about has nothing to do with tonight. Tonight is what I'm worried about. When I
It's
go
the
file this
culmination of
thing,
everything.
he's going to know.
Well, he's going to know no matter what, because he's going to jail today if we find him. Until we find him, do you think you're in danger?
Yeah.
Do you think Ansley's in danger?
Yeah.
Do you think Johnny's in danger?
I don't know, but Stafford and me and Ansley, yeah.
How come?
Because he's driving around with a gun.
Man, he only wants to hurt himself. He wouldn't hurt any of them, would he?
He wants me to stop the divorce. That's what he kept saying. I have nothing to live for if you fall through with this. I have nothing to live for.
But it's not like you're going to get back together.
Well, that's what he wants. And
You
that's
did-
pretty much what I had to, I didn't say that, but I pretty much had to say, we'll meet with Marcus. I didn't say at the beginning, I said, this could be your rock bottom. This could be, all that. I said all that. I didn't say I would call off the divorce.
As much as she avoids talking about Mike, the detective is trying to circle her back to the topic. His angle is that if she confesses about Brian's involvement and links him to the murder and not the disappearance, he can get life in prison and would never be able to hurt Denise or any of his kids. But deep down, she knows that by confessing about his involvement, Brian would confess about her involvement.
I believe you know enough about. He said something, he alluded to something. Why not, with his money and his youth, move on to something else? What is so important about keeping Denise?
Which he has. Because
I think he's
how
afraid you're going to say something that he has said in the past. And this, by being married to you, is the only way he can keep control of that. Even if it's a little something. He has said something to you, Denise, at some point
Well,
about.
then I would really have to. And it doesn't matter.
Still need to get in.
And I just feel like this restraining order is not going to stop him. An alarm system at my house isn't going to stop him.
What's going to stop you?
Well, I guess if he kills himself, then I don't have to worry.
That's a good one.
But I just
So-
don't think he's going to.
All this stuff, the restraining order, putting him in jail, or doing nothing, which is going to stop him?
Well, I'm here trying to do something, but I still don't feel right about it.
Why don't you feel right about it?
Because I know what's going to happen when he finds out. He's going to be mad. And when he left me, he was calm. He was crying. He was sorry. I can deal with that. I can't deal with the other. And it's worse. I've never seen him like this. Never. He was off. He was.
And
This is crazy. Okay.
Colleen,
It's crazy.
but you need to understand,
It's crazy.
you got to be able to see it from out here.
But I did,
He was not there to kill himself. The threat to kill myself was to get you to do what he wanted you to do. He's so crazy that he believed you. He believed you wouldn't tell anybody that he kidnapped you.
I promised him.
I know.
Many
That's how
times.
crazy he is. Are you kidding me? You say anything, you did it right. You handled it perfectly. You should never do what he says. Fight for your life.
I
You
was
go to a
praying
public
the whole
place,
time.
and you got him to calm down, and you got
But he did, yeah, he left
You got him
believing.
to believe. Think how crazy it is. If I were in that frame of mind and never told me I'm not going to tell him that, you think I would go for that?
Yeah.
Well, if I'm in that frame of mind, I might, because I am totally off my rocker.
Well, yeah.
Because he still has this little tiny belief. Because that's all he wants is you to stay with him. But he'll never be normal. He's not normal. And I'm sure if you think about the last 15 years, there had to be tons of abnormal things.
But yeah, so so finish that sentence. You said, so he will probably get arrested and then he'll get out in a couple days. Then what?
And they'll end up, state attorney will file the charges against him for whatever the charge is, and then it'll drag out for some time. It won't be quick.
Oh, right, but during all that time, what about me? What about Ansley?
That's right. And that's why you have to go through with it. They may do electronic monitoring on him. They may put a big enough bond, but he's never been in trouble.
No.
If they put a bond just means a promise to show up at court. It doesn't mean that I can't go out and kill you.
Right,
Okay? Think about that doctor up in
right.
Colorado. He's living with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meantime, you have to be worried about Ansley, where she goes to school starting back. You got to tell the school what's going on so that they can watch out for her and make sure that she's always got somebody around and she's never going home alone. You may have to find something to rent, or you guys can stay with me in Denver. There's plenty of room. We can work around it. He doesn't know where I live. Could he find out? Absolutely. Out of all the places that he's going to come to, nowhere's perfectly safe, but it's probably the safest that I can think of. At least there's always someone there. And Denise, now I'm bringing my family into it. Parker and Deborah, we love you. I don't want anything to happen to you or Ansley. All right, so I'm willing to accept that risk. And it's more real to me than anybody, because we see it all the time. It's happened here in Tallahassee. This is not how a human being who loves people, who cares about people, react or behave. This is about power. This is about money. And Denise, you've got to get in your head that, see, because he didn't hurt you, well, you think, well, there's some good in him. There's not. For whatever reason, he backed off today. Okay? And Ansley would have had no mother and no father.
And I think he did, because I told him pretty much what he wanted to hear.
That's the only, I don't know how you talk your way out of it.
Well, it's not going to work again.
The fact that you listened or didn't listen to him and drove to CVS probably saved your life. If you'd gone where you wanted to go and there was no one around, I don't think you could have talked him out of it.
It was just in
And
my
they shot
head.
you and buried you somewhere and you would have never been found.
It was just in my head to get to CVS. I was like, I had to get to CVS. It was so weird.
To me, him bringing those things, hiding in the car, directing you, he had it thought out.
Obviously.
Okay? And I know I keep telling you about it, but I'm telling you, he killed Mike. And he did it for you because he wanted you. And I know that's hard, and I know it hurts. But by God, I'm telling you, that's what happened. How old was Ansley then?
He
Huh?
a baby.
Not even a year. He didn't care. I saw, Deborah and I saw Mike the night before with Ansley at the mall. And that's the last time I ever saw him. He didn't care about you. He didn't care about Ansley. He only cares about himself. He made Mike disappear, and he was going to make you disappear today. And you have got to get that in your head. You don't ever have to tell me or anybody else about it. But at some point it needs to come out because he did it. I am telling you. I don't think you had anything to do with it, but he held that over you. And I'm sure at some point he told you something. And I'm not trying to get you in trouble because I don't think you did anything, Denise. But I'm telling you, he killed Mike and he was going to kill you and make you go away. You need to hear that and you need to hear it a lot. You were going to die today. You got lucky. Okay? Next time, it might be he catches Ansley and you, and he kills Ansley in front of you just to hurt you. And if you think he's not capable of that, think about the man who brought something to bury you with, who brought plastic, who brought bleach to cover his tracks. Why doesn't it make sense? He's nuts. He killed your husband.
But if he is nuts, that crazy, then again, I can't have an officer live with me 24/7. I can't. I'm not safe.
He goes to prison for murder, you'll never see him again. He killed Mike. And he buried Mike where no one could ever find him. That is the truth. I'm wondering if he was taking you to the same place today that he buried Mike, because he's done it before. You have to wrap your mind around it, Denise. That is what he has done, and he's willing to do it.
Despite circling back countless times, Denise has only two options to pursue. She either breaks down crying or changes the topic. But what she's unwilling to do is put Brian in danger. And even though she knows he is the danger, his most dangerous attribute is the truth about Mike's disappearance. The detective takes one more jab at her by pointing out an important indicator of guilt. After Mike's disappearance and Brian and Denise's marriage, they rejected every opportunity to give an interview to the police. At the time, Detective Mike Phillips tried several times to reach out to Denise for an interview, but she refused to talk to the police every single time. Now that she's in a state of talking and confessing, this is the right time to bring that up. Also, as this detective is her brother-in-law, he's about to get too personal with some of his questions.
Were you sleeping with Brian the day that Mike disappeared?
No.
It didn't happen until later?
No. Yeah.
Well, but he wanted you, there's no doubt about it.
I can't even imagine. And I've never seen a person like this today.
Years ago when Mike Phillips and those guys at FTLE wanted to talk to you and Brian, y'all went and talked to him, why not?
I talked to Mike. I talked to Mike.
But they wanted you to come in and do an interview, and y'all didn't do it.
We did 2 interviews. We did interviews with not local people. It was federal people. I did one, he did one, and I think we did another one. But it was always in an attorney's office,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't remember. Mike Phillips came to my house one time, and I talked with him there. But the official ones were with federal people, and it was more than one.
With a lawyer.
At an attorney's office, and they recorded it all. From what I remember.
Your attorney or Brian's attorney?
Well, I mean, he's an attorney who is friends with the Winchesters.
Who set that up?
Who set up the meeting?
The one who set up the lawyer.
Oh, I would guess Marcus, because he's in that same little area where they all work together. I don't really remember, but I do remember the location of the interviews were at the attorney's office, which is the same parking lot as Winchester Financial Group. Because I remember having to go there twice, I think, or 3 times.
What all they asked you, do you remember? Did y'all talk to them?
Yeah. We answered all these questions. I think there's recording. I don't know. I don't remember. But I know it was definitely more than once.
So Brian and Denise gave interviews in the presence of an attorney arranged by Brian. And if you've been watching our channel videos, you know those interrogations are very controlling. The attorney never lets the detective ask incriminating questions and steers the interrogation away from all the guilty parts. Now, while it sounds like Brian's father, Marcus, had a lot to do with exonerating the couple, he was just looking into the best interest of his son and his son's love interest. After this sob story ended without confessing about Brian's involvement in Mike's disappearance, Brian was arrested and charged with kidnapping, domestic assault, and armed burglary. The sad and depressed Brian Winchester was held without bond for nearly 502 days until his trial in December of 2017. In December of 2017, Brian Winchester was sentenced to 20 years in prison for the kidnapping, with credit for the days already served, and after that, he will spend 15 years on probation. He showed no emotion other than sadness over the divorce and his mother's terminal cancer diagnosis. During this entire time, Denise got what she wanted: protection orders for her life and her daughters, and her ex-husband put away for 20 years. Prosecutors even tried asking the court for the 45-year maximum against Brian, but now he's spending the rest of his days behind bars in the Wakulla Correctional Institute. With this court case, many people thought that they would get some breakthrough in Mike's disappearance. Even Cheryl Williams spoke to the New York Daily and said, quote, "I'm praying he'll tell us what actually happened." Unfortunately, he didn't. As Denise was about to walk the streets of Tallahassee, knowing she's got no threats and no leaks to worry about, Brian was contemplating his actions. During his sentencing, there was not a single mention of Mike Williams, even though the state attorneys were hoping that he would give them something about Mike's disappearance. However, just before his sentencing, he reached an agreement. In exchange for not getting a life sentence and some undisclosed immunity, Brian would tell them the truth, not just about Mike's disappearance, but everything. After Brian reached an agreement, the cold case of Mike's disappearance was brought back to life, with countless developments that were revealed to the public the very next day.
Good afternoon. I'm Special Agent in Charge Mark Perez with the Tallahassee Regional Operations Center. I appreciate you being here today as we provide you an update of the Jerry Michael Williams investigation. After years of interviews, forensic and investigative analysis, we finally got the break that we needed. Standing here now, I can tell you that we know what happened to Mike Williams. He was murdered.
Never really had any interest in Denise until 1997. We started having an affair October 13th, 1997. We took a couple of trips that may or may not be able to be documented. One of them was to New York, the other one was to Miami. I sold an insurance policy of Mike probably around when he first got married, probably around 94, something like that. May have been earlier than that, I don't remember, but it was a policy for $250,000 with Kansas City Life Insurance. My understanding is Mike bought a second policy probably when he got, well, maybe a couple years after he got married. I don't remember, but it was with a different agent. It was with Cotton States, and it was for $500,000. As far as me and Denise, I wasn't looking or pushing to get a divorce. I didn't want to get divorced. I know how to say this, but Denise has this thing where she gets people to do stuff for her, and she minimizes her, I don't know, guilt or conscience or whatever in it. She's unbelievably good at lying, manipulating, having things work her way, not just with me, but other men I've seen. I mean, she's very good. she wanted it all to be on me and not on her. And she wanted in her mind a scenario where it wasn't a murder, but it was an accident.
After receiving new information, FDLE's crime scene unit and special agents spent days conducting an extensive search at an undisclosed location. That search led to the recovery of human remains, and FDLE's crime laboratory analysts confirmed through DNA analysis that the human remains are those of Mike Williams. It was also determined that 17 years did not hide how Mike Williams died.
The plan that was discussed and come up with was that he was going to be wearing waders, and the belief was somebody falls in the water with waders, you're going down. So we went out like we were going hunting. We got to the area where his waders and jacket were found. I got him to stand up and I pushed him into the water. He got his jacket off and his waders off, and he was in a panic, obviously. I was in a panic. I was driving the boat, and I didn't know what to do. And I ended up shooting him.
Mike Williams' remains were found at the end of Dead End Gardner Road in northern Leon County. On May 8th, 2018, just as Denise was leaving work to celebrate her daughter's 19th birthday, she was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and accessory after the fact. The confession tape of Brian Winchester was played aloud in the trial of Denise Williams on September 24th, 2018. However, if you look at it from an objective set of eyes, the way a county judge would, it is still his word against hers. Firstly, the defense argued that this tape should never have made it into evidence, as Winchester was not charged with anything related to Mike. This further pushed the trial date to December of that year. Brian Winchester testified at length about his affair with Denise and how the two never wanted to get divorced, so they planned the murder. The most concrete piece of evidence was the confession, but at this point it was not worth much to the jury. So, to bring justice, Brian's first wife, Kathy Thomas, came to the rescue. Kathy became an informant for FDLE, and in a planned conversation with Denise, she accuses him of killing Mike. In this conversation, the accusation is not as important as Denise's reaction to the accusation.
Brian told me that y'all planned it. Planned what? And Marcus showed up at the shop later that afternoon, telling me how I would have to take this to my grave, that it would ruin Sarah's life, it would ruin, apparently Brian told Marcus that he had talked to me, and he went on to just tell me, Marcus went on to tell me how my life would be ruined, how I would never be able to start over, if Stafford's life was ruined, if...
So Marcus knew? And when you said Brian said y'all, you're talking about me and Brian or Marcus or who?
You and Brian.
And that Marcus is involved? I mean, obviously, if he came and talked to you.
Well, it was just the whole, shut down. So, whenever, it's.
And then you got a letter from Chuck. My parents got a letter too, but you got a letter from Chuck, and he's talking about it too, or no?
Chuck told me what happened in Atlanta.
In Atlanta, okay, yeah.
So, here's the deal. Here is the deal. on. Somebody's texting me. Rex is not doing well.
But yeah, that's pretty major, especially with Marcus involved.
She is just accused of murdering her ex-husband by her friend, and her concern is that Marcus was involved? That's her issue? Brian told me that y'all conspired, planned, and killed Mike Williams. Wait, Marcus is involved? This is the same person that cut off the grandmother from the granddaughter because she made accusations against her? In this recording, she's concerned about race. Just accused of murder, and the only thing she wants to know is if Marcus was involved. Why? Because the pact that she had with Brian Winchester was that nobody else would know. Just them. And that's how they kept it a secret for that 17, 18 years. That's why she's concerned about Mary Marcus involved. It's not the fact that, oh, by the way, I've been told that you killed your husband. Her concern is Marcus is involved. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but she actually accused her twice. 2 times. It's not even what she said, it's what she doesn't say. In this recording, she's just accused by one of her best friends of plotting to murder her husband, who was in fact murdered. And then she says, oh no, I didn't. What she says is, wait, Marcus is involved?
This was the prosecution's closing argument, and perhaps the most solid piece of evidence against Denise. Oh, and this was State Attorney John Fulks providing the closing arguments of the case. And with that, we came to the conclusion we were all waiting for.
Based upon the jury verdict in this case, Ms. Williams, I do adjudicate you guilty of counts 1 and 2. On count 1, I sentence you to 30 years, Department of Corrections. On count 2, I sentence you to life in prison. Those sentences were run concurrently.
After 19 years, the truth came out. And although it did not affect the manipulated Brian Winchester sentence, it did put this monstrous woman behind bars. Unfortunately, her attorney did appeal her conviction and was able to overturn the murder conviction, since there wasn't any physical evidence tying her to the case. But the conspiracy to commit murder conviction was upheld, including the 30-year sentence that accompanied it.